Hello everyone, this is CJNovo982 and today we're back with another brand new video. Today's video, as you can tell by my enthusiasm for recording, we are here to discuss another game where Rangers drop points and perform extremely flat. The final score was obviously Rangers 1, Kilmarnock 1, that's right. It was always going to be a difficult test, let's not beat around the bush, but when you hear all the talks and the press conferences about willing to give these players a chance to redeem themselves from Tuesday, these players are coming out here with a point to prove this performance is for the fans. Well, if that performance was for the fans, they must not like us. If you missed the game or anything like that, you might actually take a step back and look at the overall stats, where Rangers had 9 shots, 7 on target, and Kilmarnock had 2, and they had 1 on target. You might think, well, Rangers were truly dominant in the game, and they were just unlucky. But no, it wasn't like that at all. Sums up. I'm almost at a loss for words, but at the same time, I'm nearly repeating everything I've said in the last couple of fan recaps. Rangers just came out, and it was just so lackadaisical, you know, sideways passing over and over again. I'm sure it was Einstein that actually said, insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And honestly, I'm just sitting here, there's so much anger, so much disappointment, but so much disbelief that this is the same Rangers team that ended the first half of the season so strongly, with so much passion, so much effort, so much determination to actually win. You could even argue since the winter break has actually came and went, Rangers have never turned up, apart from a 3-game spell where it looked like we were finally starting to wake up. But it's just been such a sleepy, late second half effort from Rangers in the second half of the season. There's just so lackadaisical, so sideways, like that's the way they always look. I might have already said that, but trust me, it's drilled into my brain because that is all we do now. It's weird because earlier on in the season there was always this thing saying we were a 60-minute team, Rangers were a 60-minute team, so good, then the other 40 we kind of just drifted away, there was iffy moments, and then we sort of translated from a 60-minute team to a 45-minute team. That's what we became, one good half, other half we were awful, sort of case in point in the Hibernian game just recently. Now after watching that game, I think we've dropped from a 45-minute team down to a 10-minute team, because genuinely against Kilmarnock we only turned up for 10 minutes and we got the equalizer, and then what did we do after that? Did we continue to put the pressure, so much effort, chase down? Did we continue doing that after we scored? No. What did we do? Revert back to the sideways passing, hoping Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos wins us the game. But enough of me talking about the overall season, let's actually break down the overall game then, shall we? Obviously it finished 1-1, Kilmarnock did take the lead, and they had a couple of chances to even add more on in the first half. Kilmarnock were started off brightly, I would say, especially on the counter-attack where we just bent over and let them take it. It was honestly awful. From the first couple of minutes, Roby actually pegs Nikola Katic, runs through and has a free shot on goal. That was the warning sign. Now unfortunately for him, he obviously injured himself, but the clear thing was there. It's one pass and they're in. Did we actually learn from it? Did we adjust on the fly? Did we notice what they were trying to do? Keep the ball back and then spring a long pass? No. Because how did they get the first goal? Sat back and deep, invited Rangers pressure on, watched Halliday and Tavernier come up, and as soon as they had the 2-on-1 at the centre-back position, 2 of your centre-backs, one of them, they just lumped it right up the park, in behind them. Alan McGregor, unfortunately for Rangers and us fans watching, he actually finally makes a mistake in the season. He comes out, absolute no man's land, a very clear mistake from Alan McGregor, but to be fair to the Kilmarnock guy, he actually goes round the goalkeeper, shows composure and slaps it into the back of the net. But it's just so needless, it's just so tactically slack. Like, you could see that's all they were doing for the entire game, and they almost went a 2-0 ahead right just before half time with Powell pretty much doing the exact same thing. Long punt up, he holds up, passes it, and the guy ends up shooting it wide. It should have actually been 2-0 to Kilmarnock on the reaction game from the Glasgow Rangers, where they have been drilled all week that they were fired up and ready to prove themselves to us as fans watching, whether you're around the world or you're at the stadium, wherever you are watching Rangers. That was supposed to be the reaction game. Was that a reaction game for you? Let me know down in the comment section below, because to me, it wasn't. It was just the same old flat BS. Now at halftime we actually made some changes, and thank God we did, because Daniel Candeias, absolutely love the guy. Look through my channel, look through my tweets, I always defend Daniel Candeias. I absolutely love him, but for the last 5 games, he's been crap. Yes, he scored 1 goal, but how did that goal actually come down? Because he done a terrible cross. That is what kind of Daniel Candeias is doing right now. He was passing the ball out to play like numerous times. That is why he got subbed off. Absolutely love the guy, but he's either completely ran out and he's got nothing left in the tank, or he's just inside himself and lost all confidence, because that is not the same Daniel Candeias that I know, and he probably should have been dropped for this game. He shouldn't have started. Yes, Gerrard, give him a chance to redeem himself, but he's certainly never getting subbed off at half time. Someone else that was actually subbed off was quite strange. It was actually Andy Halliday, who, again, love him or hate him, or because I've been there, you know what I mean, I've been on both sides. But Andy Halliday is one of these guys that will always perform, and you can see him when he was on the field, he was shouting at players, demanding more. He came off for BB Barisic, and if I'm honest with you, it was probably Barisic's best game since the winter break. Unfortunately, he's been crap the rest of the winter break, and he was alright. I did actually forget to mention, by the way, when Daniel Gundeas came off, Grezda actually came on, and to me, personally, I thought he'd done alright. You know what I mean? A couple of slack passes to start off with, but as the game grew on, I thought he was quite strong. Won us a hell of a lot of free kicks. It's just, unfortunately, we can't kick our own arses with set pieces. It's absolutely god-awful. Which sort of leads me perfectly over into my next thing I want to talk about, the set pieces style from the Glasgow Rangers. The corners were awful all day long, but the free kicks, this really like grinds my gears, because we had 3 or 4 free kicks in key areas, like literally round the deed, something you practice, every single person practices, and it was just so awful, the execution. Andy Halliday had one in the first half where he ballooned over the bar. He obviously got substituted off. Then Tavernier stepped up, and it was one on target, to be fair. Just was hit with like -5 pace. Hit one straight at the wall, and the other one I believe he hit right over the bar. That's a key thing for Rangers. You know, set pieces win you games. You see other teams in the league scoring from set pieces. We have absolutely nothing. There's no quality stepping up. No wonder teams like Kilmarnock will foul us around the D every single time, because they're like, what are they going to do from him? Hit it at the wall. But let's move away from the set pieces and actually talk about one moment of quality that actually did happen for the Glasgow Rangers, and it came from, guess who? Alfredo Morelos. But before we talk about the goal, I think a key thing actually happened before Morelos even got the ball. It was Jermaine Defoe getting subbed on. Finally, you know, chasing a game, sub on. You know, just one of the deadliest strikers in English football in history, Jermaine Defoe. We waited a wee bit to bring Jermaine Defoe on. But anyway, he came on and he took Broadfoot away with him right away, because he was moving out, and that split the centre-backs, and that gave Alfredo Morelos just one centre-back to worry about. And as soon as that actually happened, what did he do? Turned him absolutely so beautifully. Like, genuinely go and check this goal out. Even if you're a neutral or you didn't even support Rangers, go and watch this goal. It's absolutely brilliant. Turns him and finishes so spectacularly. Then you see his passion, his demand, because he's getting absolutely no service, and I mean it. And to be fair to Alfredo Morelos, this was the Alfredo Morelos that we want to see, strong and authoritative. No the one that's playing the victim card and falling all over the place for Aberdeen. Yes, it should have been a penalty, but the rest of the game, come on lads, he just kept flopping. But against Kilmarnock, he was strong and authoritative. He spun the guy and finished so brilliantly. That's Alfredo Morelos at the best, and that is what happens when we play 2 up top against teams that's just going to sit at the back. It creates space. But yeah, Alfredo Morelos, beautiful. And something else that was beautiful is the 10 minutes before we actually scored with Alfredo Morelos, because the players started to go for it. They started to get the crowds up. Kamara won about a 50-50. They got the crowd going. Kent started to really click into gear and started to beat people left, right and centre. It was starting to really go, and then we got the equaliser, and you're thinking to yourself, this is it lads. Keep that pressure up, keep them pinned in, and keep this aggression, ruthless nature that we've currently got. But what happened when we scored? We went from chasing everything down, hitting direct balls to Alfredo Morelos and Jermaine Defoe, to reverting back to our old ways, sideways passing, going out wide and crossing it to nobody. Hence why I said earlier on in the video we're a 10-minute team. That 10 minutes was the only moments for me that Rangers actually stepped up and the Rangers players on the field played like a Rangers team. And from that, the rest of the game just sort of fizzled out. The referee, by the way, let's talk about it, was absolutely awful. And not just against Rangers or anything like that, because he should have sent Connor Goldson off. But Malumbu had 3 or 4 swipes at players. Nothing. McKenzie absolutely rinsed, I believe it was Grezda. Like, honestly, it was a full-on charge. Nothing. Dicker had about 3 or 4 kicks out. Alfredo Morelos, nothing. And as I previously mentioned, Connor Goldson, with them running through on goal down the left-hand side, it should have been a clear red card, but the referee's just that garbage. He gave a yellow. And before we actually wrap up, there was a couple of players that I thought actually played pretty damn decent, and the first player I need to talk about is someone who hasn't kicked a ball for Rangers all season, but he certainly did in this game, and he was one that really stood up and tried to make things happen. It was none other than Stephen Davis. That was the Stephen Davis that Rangers thought they were signing. He was absolutely brilliant in this game. For me personally, kept everything going forward. Yes, he could have shot instead of trying to pass to Jermaine Defoe when he was in round about the 80th minute, but the rest of the game for me, defensively and going forward, he was the best player in the Royal Blue for me. And the other player, by the way, is someone we've already mentioned. That was none other than Alfredo Morelos. Morelos, Davis for me was the only ones that really stepped up and looked like they actually wanted to win the game. Yes, Ryan Kent done a lot of things creatively, and maybe if more people gambled in the box, one of these crosses would have connected, but his shooting was quite poor today, and he was quite guilty of doing a skill move, then cutting back, sideways passing it as well, and that was quite disappointing overall. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about today's overall performance. It was an absolute kick in the gonads. You know, you just sit back in so much disbelief watching Rangers perform like that, and honestly, I'm very curious to see what the comments are actually going to be. Obviously, there's going to be troll comments, so any support on the like button would be absolutely tremendous as well. But genuine comments, what is going wrong with Rangers right now? Does there need to be a lot of changes? I am very interested to see what Gerrard does. Obviously, the next game's against Celtic. Is it going to be big enough to drop people that aren't performing, like Candace, etc., Tavernier, guys like Connor Golton, who's just really went off the boil? Is that what's going to happen in the next game we actually play, or are they going to give them another chance to play themselves out of the rut? Now over to Twitter, there was no man of the match poll. Obviously, Alfredo Morelos won the official man of the match from Rangers, and the Rangers TV man of the match, I believe, was actually Stephen Davis, if you guys are interested in that. Janet writes in, shite, and more shite, CJ. Thank you. R. Smithy says, personally, I think he's lost a few of the players. I mean, that's a very fair question, mate. I'd be interested to see what people's reactions are to that. Deacon Neil writes in, Pish sat in a pub after a wedding watching that, ruined my entire day. Ewan McKenzie writes in, shite. There's no other word, CJ. It's just shite. Sammy even writes in, just no, and a full stop. He's not even ripping me, so that shows how angry he is. David Nimmo says, what time does casualty begin? That just finished about 10-15 minutes ago, buddy. Kimberly writes in, Pish, but at least we got a point. That is a half full kind of lady. Graham Bell writes in, we continue to be a 45-minute team, but ultimately different players led to the same underwhelming outcome. Fair enough, mate. Wooders writes in, our wide men didn't play well, so we never found space in behind. That was required to create chances. Fair. Ross R writes in, depressing stuff, frustrating, should be winning games when you have 95% of the ball. And the last 2 or 3 that will actually read out comes from Tenacious C says, this gif with Gerrard's head on it, trying to find the dressing room, he's maybe lost. Again, there's a couple of things saying that Gerrard's lost the dressing room. That's a surprise. Brian McCubber writes in, why you bothering? It's shite. End of. Win, lose, or draw. You always follow Rangers, mate. And the last one we'll read out comes from, bang, Lewis Patterson. He writes in, plain and simple, it was shite. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You've heard from the people, you've heard from myself. If you haven't done so already, get your thoughts and opinions down there in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.